Everyone has a power. Yes, everyone has a superpower, and it's going to sound really cliche, but this is what I tell everyone when they come to me and say, "I don't know what I need to do to get to the next step." I do a simple exercise. I want everyone to do this right now. I'm sure you have your paper and pen out like I do. I was taking notes with Tim. I want you to write down your biggest insecurities and fears. Make a list. Write them down from the biggest to the least biggest. And you can just write a list of all your fears and then kind of mark which one, number one, two, three, afterwards if you want to do that. So I'll give an example. 10 years ago, a fear of mine was speaking in public. I could have never have done this 10 years ago. I could never stand up in a group of 5 people without stuttering, without being insecure, being nervous, profusely sweating from my armpits. So I would put public speaking. Salsa dancing was an insecurity of mine. Putting out a piece of content was an insecurity because I was fearful of people judging it and critiquing it. All these different fears that I had. When I was a teenager, the fear was talking to girls because I got rejected a lot. So I was like just afraid to talk to girls. It might be I'm afraid to, I don't know, launch a business and ask for investment and raise $1 million. Whatever that fear is that you're in your place of your life right now, write the list of your biggest fears. I'm afraid to have that hard conversation with my wife. I'm afraid to break up with my girlfriend. I'm afraid, for whatever reason, just write these things down and create a list. And what I want you to do is analyze this list and look at it and see if there are any common themes. There's the fear around judgment of what people are think about you when you're in that situation. Is the fear around failure, that if you do this thing, you'll fail. Is the fear around success. If I do this thing and live into this fear of mine, I'll actually be successful, and the pressure and the weight of that I'm not able to bear right now, or I'll lose my friends because I'm successful, or whatever it may be. So write this list down. And what I always tell, I do this every year, Grant. At the end of the year, I ask myself, okay, what are my biggest fears? Because every new level creates a different level of things we've never achieved and accomplished. And so in order to get there, like you did in our interview, you had to think, but I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can ask that to that person and get that money here and ask for 100 million. I've only done 30 million. What if someone laughs at me and says no? What if I lose it all? What if all the people in my office, I don't make any money and I go bankrupt and they all rely on me? It's like you have that insecurity for a moment, but then you're like, okay, I got to do this, this, and this, and then you execute it. And when we make this list of fears, we need to go all in on the biggest fear first until that is no longer a fear or insecurity or doubt that we have. When we go all in on the biggest fear that we have, and if we do this every year, I create a list of the 3 biggest fears that I have every year. When we go all in on that, you develop your superpower in that moment. So mine, 10 years ago, Grant, was public speaking. I had a cast on from a surgery I had from playing football. I was in a cast from here to here for 6 months, and I would go to Toastmasters, and I went to the Toastmasters Club in Columbus, Ohio, because I was terrified to speak, and I met a mentor. I met a friend who was already making money as a speaker that I respected. And I said, what do I do if I want to overcome this? Ask someone, when you meet them, what are you most grateful for right now in your life? This is a very simple question. But a lot of people don't ask that to you.
No, never. I've never been asked that.
You may say like, that's a dumb question. Why would you ask that? But everyone asks like, oh, what do you do? Where are you from? Do you have a family? Ask, what are you most grateful for? They'll tell you about their family. They'll tell you about where they're from. They'll tell you about these things. But they'll be like, oh, that's interesting. It just makes them tap into a different part of their brain and their heart. They have to think for a second. And another question you should ask is, what's the thing you're most excited about right now in your life? When people share what they're excited about, not what they do, not where they're from, not this and that, but what are you most excited about in your life right now? People, again, have to tap into something from their brain and their heart, and they get into their body, and you see them use their body and start to light up. And all you had to do was ask one question, and the entire moment changes. And then they'll share for 2 to 5 minutes. You listen presently, and at the end of the conversation, they'll say, that was the most interesting person I've met in a long time. If you ask them,
what is that about you?
They'll say, that's the most, you don't have to say anything about yourself. And they'll say, man, that Lewis guy was like, he's the most interesting person at the party.
Wow.
I rarely speak and talk about myself unless I'm asked at some point. I'm always asking questions because people love to talk about themselves, and the more they talk about themselves, they love the person they're talking to in front of them, and the more they feel like, wow, this person really cares, and show genuine care. Don't do this as like a gimmick.
Yeah.
If you ask, what are you grateful for? What are you most excited about in your life right now? Those two questions will start to change your life.
Play the clip, Johnny. Watch Lewis do this right here.